There's a wound in you. You may not know where it began. You may not even remember how it got there. But it exists, and until you face it, you will live inside it. Carl Jung didn't speak in surface-level self-help slogans. He wasn't interested in just fixing you. He wanted to wake you up to the truth beneath your patterns, your emotions, your pain. He believed that everything you repress comes back, not as memory, but as fate. So here's a hard truth. Until you heal this wound, you will keep choosing the same heartbreak. You'll keep attracting the same kind of chaos, the same coldness in people, the same silence where love should be. Different names, different faces, but the same pain. Why? Because your unconscious is trying to get your attention, and it doesn't whisper, it repeats. Have you ever stopped to ask, why do I always fall for people who can't love me back? Why do I sabotage everything right before it gets good? Why do I stay in situations that hurt me, drain me, empty me? You may think this is just how you are, that maybe you're just unlucky or broken. You are not broken. You are wounded, and there's a massive difference. See, Jung believed that most of what we call personality is actually a defense mechanism in disguise. You weren't born guarded. You learned to be. You weren't born chasing validation. You were taught that love had to be earned, and you weren't born afraid to trust. You were betrayed by someone who should have protected you. So now, without even realizing it, you're building your life around a scar, protecting yourself from a wound that's never been allowed to bleed in the open. Let's go deeper. Jung said, what you resist not only persists, it grows. And what you repress doesn't disappear. It mutates. It hides in your relationships, in your reactions, in the way you flinch when someone gets too close, in the way you chase what hurts and push away what heals. That's the wound. It becomes your compass. And this is the terrifying part. Unless you confront that original pain, your unconscious will keep bringing you back to it, like a loop you can't exit. Why? Because the psyche wants wholeness, and it will sacrifice comfort to get it. Imagine this. A child, desperate for love, grows up never feeling truly seen, so they learn to be perfect, to overachieve, to people please. But deep down, the wound is still there. I am not enough. I must earn love. I must perform to be wanted. Now fast forward 20 years. That child is in a relationship. Everything is going well, until it gets too close. Suddenly, panic. They start fights. They create distance. They sabotage the very love they've always longed for. Why? Because love feels unfamiliar. But the wound, rejection, abandonment, unworthiness, that feels like home. You are not addicted to pain. You are addicted to what you know. And what you know is the wound. But here's where it shifts. You are not doomed to repeat it forever. You are not stuck in this pattern unless you refuse to look at it. Healing begins the moment you stop blaming the world and start asking the real questions. What am I still trying to prove? Who am I still trying to win? What emotion have I been running from for years? This first step, awareness, is what Jung meant when he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The pattern isn't fate. It's the unconscious screaming for resolution. And now, you're listening. In the next segment, we'll dive into why this wound keeps showing up in your closest relationships and how it chooses your partners, shapes your self-worth, and traps you in cycles you think are love, but are really just repetition. If you've ever felt like your heart keeps returning to the same battlefield, don't miss what comes next, because understanding the pattern is the first step to breaking it. And once you break it, everything changes. Somewhere along the way, love got tangled with pain. Maybe it was the parent who was only warm when you succeeded. Maybe it was the affection that came with conditions. Maybe it was the silence that echoed louder than words. Whatever it was, that early wound became your blueprint for connection. And now, here you are, still repeating it, still calling it love. Carl Jung understood this better than anyone. He believed that our earliest emotional injuries shape how we relate, how we attach, how we love. And until we bring that unconscious wiring to light, we'll keep choosing partners, friendships, and situations that reflect it, not because we want to suffer, but because some part of us is trying to resolve the unresolved. Here's how it happens. Let's say as a child, you felt invisible. Maybe your needs were ignored. Maybe your emotions were dismissed. You learned that love equals abandonment, that asking for too much equals rejection, that being vulnerable equals unsafe. And so, you grow up, but the wound stays frozen in time. Now you meet someone. They're inconsistent, emotionally distant, and something in you lights up. Why? Because it feels familiar. Familiar doesn't mean safe. It means known, and the unconscious loves what it knows. You tell yourself it's chemistry, it's fate, it's real. But deep down, it's just repetition. A younger version of you still trying to win love in a scenario where it was once denied. Jung called this a complex, an emotionally charged bundle of memories, sensations, and meanings that cluster around a wound. You're not reacting to the present. You're reacting to every moment in your past where that same emotion was left unresolved. So when someone doesn't text back, you don't just feel disappointed. You feel abandoned, unworthy, rejected, because the wound is awake. And here's the trap. Until you become aware of the wound, you'll keep picking people who activate it. You think you're choosing love, but really, the wound is choosing for you. Let's break this down with a few examples. You crave constant validation, not because you're vain, but because, deep down, your worth was never affirmed. You chase emotionally unavailable people, not because you're broken, but because love once meant reaching for someone who wouldn't reach back. You sabotage intimacy, not because you fear love, but because closeness feels dangerous when you've been hurt by those who were supposed to protect you. The irony? You're trying to heal. You're trying to recreate the original wound, but this time, get a different outcome. If you can just make this one person love you, then maybe the wound will close. But it never does. Because healing doesn't happen through reenactment. It happens through recognition. Jung believed that what we reject or repress doesn't disappear. It shows up in others. This is projection. You don't just fall in love with people. You fall in love with your unconscious needs. You project your abandoned inner child onto a partner and hope they'll do what your parents didn't. You expect them to fill a void they didn't create. You ask them to fix a story they were never part of. And when they fail, because they always do, You feel betrayed. But it wasn't betrayal. It was misplaced healing. So what's the way out? Start asking, what am I actually needing here that this person can't give me? Is this reaction about them or about something older? Am I trying to heal or repeat? Because when you see the pattern, you break the trance. You stop chasing the same pain. You stop calling it love. You stop bleeding on people who didn't cause the wound. And something new becomes possible. Conscious love. Love not built on wounds, but on wholeness. But let's not lie. This is hard. Because when you begin to heal, you lose access to certain types of connection. You stop being drawn to the ones who mirror your pain, and that can feel like loneliness. But it's not loneliness. It's the detox. It's your nervous system learning that peace is not boredom, that safety is not dull, that chaos is not chemistry. And that's when the real shift begins. In the next segment, we'll explore how to actually start healing this wound, the practical inner work Jung called individuation. You'll learn why avoiding pain keeps you stuck and how facing it gives you back your power. Because this isn't just about love. This is about becoming the person your wounded self has always needed. And that journey begins with you. Most people don't heal, not because they don't want to, but because healing requires something our ego resists at all costs, feeling what we never wanted to feel. Carl Jung knew this. He didn't promise that healing would be gentle. He promised that it would be transformative. But to get there, you must first go inward, into the very place you've spent your entire life avoiding. That wound you pretend isn't there. It is, and it's not just waiting to be understood. It's waiting to be felt. So let's start here. What if you stopped running, stopped numbing, stopped rationalizing? What if for once you just sat with the ache? No distractions, no blaming, no bypassing it with "it's all good" or "I'm over it." What if you let yourself collapse, fall apart, break open? Because the truth is, most of your suffering didn't begin with pain. It began when you were told not to feel it, when you were taught that crying was weakness, that being angry was wrong, that sadness made you dramatic, that asking for more made you ungrateful. So instead of expressing the pain, you buried it. And now, you carry it. It shows up in your anxiety, in your procrastination, in the tightness in your chest every time someone gets close. Jung called this repression, the burial of emotions, memories, and truths we couldn't face at the time. But the psyche has a memory. It stores everything, and what you refuse to feel consciously, it will replay unconsciously. This is why so many people repeat the same self-sabotaging behaviors, why they react with disproportionate intensity, why they feel stuck even when everything looks fine. The wound doesn't care about logic. It speaks in patterns, and it will keep screaming through your life until you listen. So how do you begin to heal? First, stop searching for shortcuts. Healing is not a linear staircase. It's a spiral. You return to the same lessons again and again, but each time from a new level of awareness. Some days you'll feel strong. Other days, the wound will ache like it's fresh. That's normal. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're alive. It means you're finally listening to what your soul has been trying to say. Jung's process of healing was called individuation, the path of becoming whole. Not perfect, not pain-free, but whole. It means integrating everything you've disowned: your shadow, your rage, your grief, your unmet needs. It means seeing yourself not as a problem to be fixed, but as a mystery to be revealed. You don't heal by becoming someone new. You heal by remembering who you were before the world taught you to forget. The child who felt deeply, the teenager who dreamed freely, the soul that knew its worth without needing to prove it. This is not about self-improvement. It's about self-return. Here's a simple but life-altering truth. Your pain is trying to protect you. That's why it repeats. Not to punish you, but to alert you that something inside needs your attention. Your sadness is not weakness. It's a message. Your fear is not dysfunction. It's a signal. Your anger is not the enemy. It's the boundary you never felt safe to set. Every emotion you're afraid of holds a truth you need to reclaim. So sit with the grief. Let it speak. Let the tears come without censoring them. Let your body tremble without apology. This is not regression. This is release. You are not going backwards. You are finally peeling back the layers that kept you disconnected from yourself. And in that space, raw, exposed, real, something powerful happens. The wound begins to breathe. It stops festering. It stops hiding in your relationships. It stops dictating your story behind the scenes. Because now, you've given it what it always needed: your presence. In the next and final segment, we'll explore what happens after the healing begins. You'll see how the wound, once integrated, becomes your power, and how your greatest pain can become the birthplace of your purpose. If you've made it this far, then something in you is ready to stop surviving, ready to start becoming. And the best part, you're not who you used to be, but you're finally becoming who you were always meant to be. So what happens after the healing begins? What happens when you stop running from the wound and instead sit with it long enough to hear what it's been trying to say? You transform, not into someone else, but into yourself. The version of you that was buried under years of performance, protection, and pretending. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But becoming that person isn't about adding more. It's about peeling back what was never yours to begin with. The lies, the shame, the stories others wrote over your spirit. Healing doesn't make you perfect. It makes you real. And in that raw, imperfect reality, there is freedom. Think about it. What if your wound isn't a weakness, but a portal, a doorway into purpose? A crack in the armor where the light gets in. The place where empathy is born, where truth is remembered, where power awakens. Jung believed that every person has a shadow, but within that shadow is energy. Energy that can destroy you when repressed, or empower you when integrated. That means your pain isn't just pain, it's potential. The same wound that caused years of confusion becomes the source of your clarity. The heartbreak that once shattered you teaches you how to love without losing yourself. The fear that once paralyzed you evolves into boundaries that protect your peace. This is the turning point, the moment the pattern ends. Not because the world changes, but because you do. But here's what no one tells you. Healing changes your life, and it also breaks it. It breaks the illusion. It breaks your tolerance for half love. It breaks your need to prove, to perform, to pretend. You'll start letting go of things you never imagined releasing. Friendships that were built on trauma bonding. Relationships that fed your wound, but starved your soul. Identities that felt safe, but never felt true. And yes, it's painful, because every rebirth requires a death. But what dies is not you. What dies is the lie that said you were unworthy, that you had to earn love, that your emotions made you weak, that the pain was your fault. Once that dies, you live. So what does life look like after healing begins? You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop chasing people who don't choose you. You stop shrinking to keep others comfortable. You stop trying to fix what was never yours to carry. You finally feel safe, not because the world is safe, but because you are safe inside yourself. This is integration. This is individuation. This is freedom. Jung believed that wholeness doesn't mean eliminating darkness. It means holding both light and shadow in one body, without shame. It means realizing you can be soft and powerful, wounded and wise, still healing and still whole, because your value was never dependent on being unbroken. It was only ever hidden beneath the wound. And now, the most important part, the pattern ends with you. You've seen the cycles. You've felt the cost. And now, you have the awareness to stop repeating what hurt you. You don't pass it on. You don't project it forward. You don't become the person who caused the wound in the first place. You interrupt it. You heal it. You transmute it. And in doing so, you don't just save yourself. You create a new blueprint for everyone who comes after you. So if this message resonated, if something cracked open in you across these 4 parts, then understand this. This was not just a video. It was a mirror, a call from your own unconscious, whispering, it's time. Time to stop living the same pain. Time to stop mistaking the wound for your identity. Time to remember who you were before you were taught to forget. You're not too late. You're right on time. The fact that you're here, reading this, feeling this, means you're already on the path. So now, take the next step. Comment below what spoke to you the most. What part of your wound are you finally ready to face? And if this series awakened something in you, if it stirred the part of your soul that's been sleeping, the next video is calling you, because the healing doesn't end here. It deepens, it expands, and the soul, once awakened, always wants more. So click it, keep going. You've already started something your future self will thank you for.